That's new. It always freaks me out when I hear it. So, if you are happy to maybe lie in a supine position so that you're allowing the full weight of your body to ease into the floor. If you find yourself distracted by any discomfort in the lower back, then by all means bend the knees. And it might even provide better comfort if you allow the knees to rest together so we widen the space in the lower back. As you allow the weight of your bones to sink a little more deeply into the floor beneath you, consider how you're holding your body. We have a tendency to naturally grab hold of the jaw. We always hold a little tension in the shoulders. So mindfully unclench here. Soften the jaw. Relax the tongue in the well of the mouth. Allow the weight at the back of your head to sink a little more deeply into the earth. And feel that comfortable neutral line through the back of the neck. Maybe drawing the chin a little closer to the chest. And relaxing the weight of the shoulders a little deeper to the floor. You want to feel as though you're resting on the flats of the shoulder blades. If you have your hands rested on your body, you may want to open the hands out, turn the palms up to the ceiling, and let the fingers release and relax. Set an intention here to rid your body of any man-made tension, to allow the muscles to soften, to feel the joints release, and bring your full awareness to the breath. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath, and perhaps start to slow the breath down, deepening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Rather than cutting corners, make sure you come to the end of each full breath transaction, filling the lungs completely on the breath in, emptying the lungs fully on the breath out. Notice your body expand and widen into the space that surrounds you. Every out breath, spine becoming a little heavier. That space between the hips releasing. The weight of your legs sinking a little more deeply to the earth. Feeling your whole body soft, heavy, completely released. Maintain an awareness on that deepened, lengthened breath. Noticing the belly rise on the inhale. Feeling the belly and the chest soften and release on the exhale. Now start to make the breath a little noisier. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as you come to the next exhalation, release that breath with an audible sigh. Consider the sound of that sigh as a message to your body to completely release. Feeling prepared and ready for the work of our practice today. Just gently returning a little sensation to fingers and toes. If the legs remain extended in this supine position, take a moment to bend the knees up so that the soles of the feet are connected to the floor. We'll adjust the arms to bring the hands up to a T-shaped position. So palms turned up towards the ceiling, back of the hands on the floor, rested there at that shoulder height. Visualizing the breath again, all the way to the belly, the chest and the collarbones. Exhaling from the collarbones, the chest and the belly laughs. At the end of that out breath, feel yourself draw the tummy button towards the spine, filling that space in the lower back, creating stability, supporting the muscles of the lower back that we often leave overworked. On the next inhalation, lift the right leg and extend that leg towards the ceiling. We're gently going to wake up the length of the leg, pointing and flexing through the ankle, mobilizing that joint, changing that action to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body, then taking those circles the opposite way. Once more pointing, then coming to flexion, pushing a little more keenly through the heel, drawing the back of the hips to the floor. On an out breath, bending that right knee, placing the hands either to the shin or to the back of the thigh for comfort. Applying a little pressure, you can feel that space in the lower back filling, widening, directing the knee out to the right shoulder. Then drawing circles with the knee to mobilize the space in and around the hip. Again, we'll take these circles both directions, easing and releasing around the back of the piriformis, the side of the hip. Now replace that right foot to the floor. Re-widen the arms to that shoulder level. Then inhale to lift and lengthen through the left leg. So again, we'll start gently pointing and flexing through the ankle. Bringing the foot to flexion, pushing through the heel, drawing the equal weight of the hips back to the floor. Using the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the center of your body. Then taking those circles the opposite way. Bringing that foot again to full flexion, pressing through the heel. Then exhaling now to hug that left knee in, directing the knee out to the left shoulder. And again, a little widening in the hip here as we mobilize, drawing those little circles, taking it both directions. Now release that left foot back to the floor. Draw the soles of the feet together and take a moment to allow gravity to widen the knees. So as we come into a supine Baddha Konasana, you might notice the lower back lift from the floor. We're simply going to bring the hands to rest behind the head. This gives us a little comfort. Make sure that we don't overextend the neck, allowing the upper arms, the forearms to rest towards the floor. And we can just focus on every out breath of allowing the knees to drift a little wider, the legs to become a little heavier. We'll allow that little natural lift in the lower back. Then draw the heels a little closer to the groin, deepening that stretch. Now let's take the hands away from under the head. So you might notice this a little on the back of the neck as you extend the arms up overhead, resting the backs of the hands to the floor. So this tends to create a deeper stretch through the front of the chest. If this feels a little intense for you, by all means bend the elbows, widen the arms a little, just to enjoy that natural release into the side of the ribcage. Now bring the palms of the hands together, press through the fingertips and lengthen the arms. Feel the ears between the upper arms. On an out breath, squeeze the upper body to the right, deepening the stretch to the left of the waist into the side of the ribcage. Inhale back to centre, then squeeze the upper body to the left side, opening into the right of the waist and the ribcage. Inhale again to return to centre. Float the hands once more back down either side of the hips. We'll keep the palms facing up to the ceiling, draw the tummy button in and slide the thighs towards one another. Reposition the heels so that the feet are hip width apart. Push into the soles of the feet and lift the bottom from the mat. Inhale to press the shins forward, noticing a deeper stretch to the front of the thighs. Aiming for a deeper stretch now into the hip flexors as you lift the hips a little higher, weight down through the flats of the shoulder blades. Inhale to press the shins forward and increase that length through the front of the body. Now bring the hands to an interlock behind the lower back. This will widen the collarbones, open through the chest. Inhale to press the shins forward. Then on an out breath, separate the hands, start at the space between the shoulder blades and take your time to slowly roll down vertebra by vertebra, coming through middle back, into the lower back, softening the back of the hips and the buttocks to the floor. I just want to stick with opening out the hip flexors a little bit more deeply. So as you return the hands to that T-shaped position, backs of the hands on the floor, palms turned up. We'll repeat that little bridge lift, but we won't go half as far. We're just simply going to lift the bottom an inch from the floor. Then we'll push the bottom over to the right side, then lower the back of the hips back to the mat. Now bring the right foot up and over, so the right ankle is on the outside of the left thigh. And as you come to your next exhalation, bring that right leg over the midline of the body. We're bringing the right knee to the left side, turning the head along the length of the right arm. If you feel the shoulder lifting, then just find that weight again through the shoulder by turning the head, deepening and releasing into the side of the hip, into the buttock. Then bring the left hand up and over. Place that hand on the outside of the right thigh. So this is simply by degrees. You might find that you enjoy a deeper stretch by drawing that thigh a little closer to the floor. If this gives you any discomfort in the lower back, then simply remove the hand and let gravity do the job. Every out breath coming a little more deeply into this release. Mindful of this twist in the lower back, but perfectly supported as we allow the shoulder to remain weighted to the floor. As you exhale, remove that left hand. Engage the core so that we're holding the weight of the legs as we roll back to centre. As you take that right leg up and over again, remember we popped the hips over to the right side. So a little shuffle back to centre. Then we'll lift up and push the hips over to the left side. Lift the left leg up and over. We'll repeat that same twist, left knee to the right side, turning the gaze along the length of the left arm. And if you go too quickly, that left shoulder will probably pop up. So roll the knee back to centre and start again. Taking your time to slowly open out the side of the ribcage, the side of the waist. We'll again achieve a slightly deeper stretch to the side of the hip if we choose to use the hand to apply a little extra pressure here. Release, widen into the chest. Then as you remove that right hand, once more remind yourself to engage the core, supporting the weight of the legs back towards centre. Then unhook that left leg. Replace both feet on the floor and a little nudge to bring the hips back in line with the shoulders. Now slide the arms overhead, resting the backs of the hands on the floor. Wide through the chest on the inhale. On the exhale, draw the tummy button in. On the next inhale, lift the bottom from the floor again, back to that bridge lift, pushing the hips, the shins forward, lifting the hips a little higher. Then exhaling, lifting the arms up and over as you roll down through the spine, a bit like a Mexican wave, this one. Inhaling, lifting the arms up, leading with the hips. Exhaling to release back into this space. One more lift up and over. Then exhale, release, bringing the hands either side of the hips. Turning the palms to the ceiling again. Then drawing both knees in towards the chest. Placing the hands either again on the shins or the back of the thighs for comfort. A little rock from one side to the other. We're nice and fluid now in that space across the sacrum, over the piriformis. As we return to center, replace both feet on the mat. Then we'll take our time to roll to the side that feels most comfortable. So if you're likely to be dizzy, choose the left. Then bring yourself back up into a seated position. Lovely. So I'm going to start today in the Dandasana position. So that's the position where we extend the legs forward. So we're just going to hold off from the cross-legged position. Lining up the back of the head with the tailbone. So really almost sensing as though you're leaning into the wall behind you. So there's a lot of core engagement to draw the tummy button in, support the spine, to lift the weight of the rib cage off the belly, releasing the shoulders back and down, then turning the toes on, so pushing the toes up towards the ceiling and bringing the hands to chest level. Wide through the chest on the inhale. On the exhale, we'll keep that diagonal line as we lead the fingers towards the feet. As you out breath, a little deeper into this fold. And rather than compromise by rolling the spine, just keep that nice, comfortable diagonal. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It's quite a big stretch on the back of the hamstrings. It's nice for our mobility, a little bit of flexibility. Then exhale, draw the tummy button in, bring the hands back to heart center, engage the core. As you lift back to center, extend that Anjali Mudra overhead, pressing through the fingers, softening the shoulders down away from the ears. Inhaling to point the right toe, bringing that foot back to flexion. Inhaling to point the left toe, then exhaling back to flexion. Keeping that core engagement, guiding the hands back to chest level. Then repositioning the hands either side of the hips, shoulder blades drawn together. So most times in this position, we walk the feet in and we make like a table position. I'm going to say as a suggestion, as an alternative today, we'll push the soles of the feet to the floor and lift the bottom from the mat. Now this isn't an easy posture, so I'll suggest that we lower back down, then engage the core and lift back up. If you feel quite strong in the arms, you can hold this posture rather than lifting and lowering. One more time, come into that fully lifted position, wide through the chest. Then on an out breath, replace the sit bones to the floor. Bring the feet to flexion, engage the core and lift back to center. Bring the right knee in. We're going to take that right foot up and over the thigh. If you position the right hand behind the hip, we can bring the left hand to the outside of the calf, or if there's space in the upper body, you might want to park the elbow to the outside of the knee. Inhale to lift up out of the sit bones. Make sure that left toe is pointing up to the ceiling. Then on an out breath, come into a deeper twist here. Turning your gaze over that right shoulder. Inhaling again to lift out of the sit bones. Exhaling to release, bringing the gaze forward. Extend the right leg, bring the left leg in. I like to use the hands on the shin to realign the spine to really create that lift. Then bring that foot up and over. Left hand now behind the hip, lifting up out of the sit bones, coming into the twist. And if there's room in the upper body, bringing the elbow to the outside of the knee. That means that we're pushing the knee in, then pushing the elbow out. That little added intensity. Then when you're ready, release and bring your gaze forward again. Extend both legs, and we'll just give the legs a little shake, and then we'll come into an all fours position. So we'll start with knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. We'll make sure we've got mobility in the feet. The feet tend to be a little bit forgotten about, and certainly as we get older, we tend to get a little bit of joint immovability, particularly around the big toe. So we'll turn both toes under, we'll push the heels back. Exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll up through the spine and nod the chin to the chest. Come back to a neutral spine position. Rest now on the tops of the feet. Then inhale to lift the sternum forward. So that curve is the opposite way. We'll come back to a neutral spine position. So the core is engaged. The back of the hips is wide. The collarbones are wide. Take the right foot back, turn the toe under and push through the heel here. Deepening the stretch to the back of the calf. Bringing that knee in, taking the opposite heel back. Deepening the stretch. Then coming back again to that all fours position. So I'm going to stick with this area that we have at the back of the calf into the ankle. We'll keep the elbows soft. We'll keep the knees bent. So we're coming up into what I call a quarter dog position. It's not quite a downward facing dog. So push the body weight back away from the wrists, lift the knees from the mat and push the heels towards the floor. If you need to walk the hands in, just find that little bit of space. But in an ideal world, we'll have the knees quite deeply bent, lifting the tailbone, resting the ears between the upper arms. Then we'll lift the bottom a little higher. We'll peel the right heel from the floor, then peel the left heel from the floor. So almost as though you're pedaling through the feet. With every inhale, lifting a little longer into this shape. Exhale to press both heels to the floor. Then lower down. Come back into a child's pose position. So resting the sit bones back to the heels. Extending the arms forward so we get the length of stretch through the arms. Ears between the upper arms. Inhale to lift the fingertips. Press the wrists to the floor. And widen that space between the shoulder blades. Replace the palms to the mat, lower the elbows to the floor and slide the chest forward. So thighs and belly rested onto the floor, elbows propping underneath the shoulders, pushing into the forearms, inhaling to lift the chest forward. As you exhale, turn your gaze over one shoulder. As you inhale, look forward. On an exhale, look over the other shoulder. Then inhale again to look forward. On the out breath, lower down. Bring that right heel in towards the bottom. Take hold of the right ankle. And we don't want this to make us feel short on one side. So consider again making sure that the shoulders and the hips are in the same plane. Press the thighs to the floor. Open out through the hips as you inhale to lift the chest. There's a little bit of pressure into that left forearm just to facilitate a deeper lift. On an exhale, release. Replace the right foot to the floor. Bring the right forearm forward. Bring the left heel in. If you can't reach the ankle, grab hold of the hem of the leggings. Even use a strap if you have one. just to toggle that heel a little closer to the bottom. Then on and out breath, release. We're going to pick the elbows up off the floor as we place the palms either side of the chest. Draw the elbows in towards the rib cage, push down into the palms and lengthen back once more into that long child's pose. As you come to your next inhalation, lift the chest forward, sink the thighs to the mat, shoulders released away from the ears into cobra pose. Exhale to release back, come into the child's pose. So inhaling into cobra, exhaling into child's pose. If cobra causes you any mischief in the lower back, then lower down onto the elbows, repeat the sphinx pose. It's usually a little gentle. We'll lift back up into an all fours position. Knees again under hips, wrists under shoulders. Taking that right foot back, turning the toe under, pressing through the heel. Deepening that stretch to the back of the calf. Then we'll lift that right heel from the mat. Try again to bring the hips and the shoulders parallel to the floor as you extend the left arm forward. So a little bit of balance here. In theory easy, but in practice not so good. Then we'll bring that right heel in towards the bottom. We use the left hand to grab hold of the top of the foot. So the cautionary note I will always remind you in this one is to keep your gaze either down or straight ahead. The minute you start looking over your shoulder, you're kind of twisting out of shape. We want the thigh parallel to the floor, the chest open. Then replace the left hand to the floor, slide the right foot forward, and we're going to bring it into a lunge position. So the knee is directly above the ankle. I'm always a fan of keeping it just a little bit back from a full 90-degree angle. Then as you lift the chest off the thigh, you can sink your weight a little more deeply forward. So we're opening into the left hip flexor, rolling the right knee over the second toe, bringing the hands in front of the heart. Then inhaling to lift the arms up overhead, shoulders release down away from the ears. Lift the sternum as you turn your gaze up towards the thumbs. Allow a natural back bend. Keep the core engaged. Bring the hands back to your heart. Hinge forward. Place the hands to the floor. So this posture requires a little bit of concentration, a little bit of strength. So don't be dismayed if you lose your balance. It's quite normal. We'll turn the back toe under and we'll lift that back knee up. My preference is just to bounce the back foot in far enough so that I can get my heel to the floor. Now widen the arms, so we're not holding ourselves up anymore. Keep that front knee bent. If you straighten the front leg, the balance is harder. Then lift the chest off the thigh. Beautiful. Lift the arms up overhead. Sink a little more deeply. And we can really feel that left hip flexor opening. On and out breath. Ease forward again. We're going to place the left hand to the floor, the right hand up in the air as we turn the belly in towards the thigh and deepen the stretch to the outside of the hip. Replace that palm to the mat. Turn the back toe under. Scoop that right foot back to come into a plank position. Roll now to the right side, making that right-sided plank. Bringing the upper arm over the ear. Back to centre. Replacing that hand to the floor. Back to a nice strong plank. Lowering down knees, chest, chin. Inhale to lift the chest. Then taking a moment back in your child's pose again. But I would suggest just tucking the hands either side of the ankles, rotating the wrists, just because of that pressure of the plank. That was quite a warming one, so I've just opened my window. Don't know if anyone else found it a little bit warming. Then when you're ready, we'll come back up into an all fours position, because you'll love it when I tell you you've only done one side, we've got to do the other side now. So take the left foot back, turn the toe under, push through the heel. So lovely deep stretch into the calf. Lift that left foot from the floor, hips square, shoulders square. Extend the right arm forward. So again, we're back into balance, core engagement, full control of the breath, not holding the breath. Breathing. Forgot about that. Then bring that left heel in. Take hold of that foot with the right hand. So again, I'll remind you, if you have a strap or a belt, this is where it's really handy, because that can fill that space between the foot and the hand. We want to ideally have the thigh parallel to the mat, open through the chest. Then as you bring that hand back to the floor, we're bringing that left knee forward, coming into the lunge on this side. Lovely. So quick reminder that when we're in a lunge, we'd like an obtuse angle on the back leg and a 90-degree angle on the front leg. If you have a 90-degree angle on the back knee, you'll just end up riding over the joint, which will feel more uncomfortable. So take your weight a little further forward and open into this space. Bring the hands either side of the chest. Inhale to lift the arms up, shoulders back and down. Lift the gaze to the thumbs, open the sternum, easing into a back bend. Turn your gaze forward, bring your hands back to heart. Hinge forward, both palms to the floor. So as we turn that back toe under, we lift the back shin, bounce the foot in, plant the foot to the floor. This is the one we need to remind ourselves about balance. Widen the arms, engage the core, lift yourself up. So really opening into the front of the hip flexor, stabilizing with the back of the thigh, never stabilizing with the knee joint. Then inhaling to lift the arms up overhead, a little bit more challenging again. We'll work on the balance. Then on and out breath, hinging forward. Right hand to the floor, left hand up in the air, turning the belly towards the thigh, looking up to the middle finger of the left hand. As you replace that hand to the floor, you've got that back toe turned under, so push the front foot back, come into plank. Make a nice diagonal with your plank. Remember, we don't want bottoms in the air. Then roll to the left side. Bring that top arm over. Lift back to center. Replace the palm to the floor. Lower down, knees, chest, chin. Inhale to lift the chest. Then you've earned a rest. Come back into child's pose. And again, if you need to release those wrists, bring them either side of the ankles. Little rotation. Let the shoulders quiet. Let the back of the neck release. Then we'll bring ourselves back up into an all fours position. Turn the toes under, roll up again, cat stretch, just in case we've inadvertently overloaded the lower back. Then rather than returning to cow pose, just find your way back to neutral spine. So we're going to practice a posture called pigeon pose today. I've never seen a pigeon sit like this, so I've no idea where that came from. So that's my disclaimer. I will demonstrate side on because that's probably the easiest way to see it. So we start in the all fours position, then we slide the right shin forward. So if you ever did the splits as a child, you're all going, what? We're not doing the splits. Turn the back toe under. So again, we're kind of lifting that knee from the floor, but use that to slide the back thigh a little further back. So it means that the distance between the open hip and the floor is a little less. Now for comfort, and I'll take this on advisement really, because not all knee joints are equal. The intention is to shuffle the right foot so that the sole of the foot is underneath that left hip. So I've still got a gap about that much. So if you can feel there's a gap between the hip and the foot, that's normal. Beautiful. It's not always great on the knee joint. So if that little slight displacement causes you discomfort, avoid, avoid, avoid. Now bring the elbows to the floor. It changes the emphasis of where you feel this. So you might now be a little more aware of the opening at the side of the hip, of the lengthening at the back of the hamstring. And you might enjoy it so much that you want to bring the head towards the floor, resting on the backs of the hands. Or you might want to tell me to bog off. That has happened. Every out breath, just feeling the sensations of that deeper release around the buttock. Then reposition the hands under the shoulders. Lift yourself back up. So you'll notice now that the tension that you maybe initially felt on the knee has released. It's nowhere near as tight as it was. We're going to bring the left heel in, and controversially, we're going to bring the right hand behind, and we're going to pull that heel towards the bottom and lift the chest. So there's a really deep release going in again into the left of the hip flexor through the front of the thigh. There's no tension on the lower back because it's all in the opening of the upper thoracic spine. And trust me when I tell you that the most comfortable way to get out of this posture is to push into plank. So lower the back foot, all the weight into the forearms, lift the right leg back, come into plank. Beautiful. Come back into the all fours position. And guess what? Same on the other side. See what we did there? So slide now the left shin forward. Pick up that right knee, slide the thigh back. Always rest on the top of the foot. If you get cramp, that's the way out of it. Then shuffle that left foot over. So you can maybe see better on this side that my hip now is resting into the instep of my foot. It's quite nice on a cold day because it keeps your feet warm. It's about the only thing going for this posture. Then lower down onto the forearms. So again, we get that sense the upper body is deepening the stretch at the side of the hip. You can probably get a sense that the longer you hang around in this, the more you will learn about your body. In particular, the things that it doesn't like. If you feel ready to take the full weight of the head to the floor, again, that brings its own little joyful serenade. Back of my left hamstring is now singing in a very high-pitched voice. And there's no rush. We're now going to make our way back up onto the palms, onto the forearms. Important that we draw the shoulder blades together. So although it's tempting to turn and look at the screen, trust the words and keep your gaze forward. Bring the right heel in, use the left hand to take hold of the foot, toggle the heel a little closer towards the bottom, lift the chest. You can tilt that pelvis ever so slightly so that you deepen the opening to the front of the hip flexor. Then when you're ready, replace the right foot and you guessed it, back to plank. Whoop, whoop. We love it. And because the hamstrings are nice and warm now, we're going to walk the feet in and just step up into a nice long downward facing dog. Remember, there's absolutely no way that we're all equal. So your knees might be bent, your heels might be off the floor. The one thing we all have in common is that we've not got the weight on the wrists. We're pushing to the back of the room, lifting the tailbone. Then on and out breath, bending the knees, sitting back on the heels. Another gorgeously deep child's pose. Rest the wrists once more. Relax. We'll bring the hands underneath the forehead. Then we'll just gently roll through the forehead to bring the left ear parallel to the floor. Roll through the forehead to bring the right ear parallel to the floor. Then come back again towards center. Push down into the palms and lift yourself up into this hero pose. So we talked a couple of weeks ago about modifying in hero pose. Some of you prefer a little bit of height underneath the bottom, so whether that's a block, a pillow. Sometimes this tension on the knees is too much, so just come to cross leg, come to wide leg. Just come to a seated position, any one that you like. No one's being left out. Beautiful. Let's take hold of the buttocks. We had this conversation the other day. I can't quite feel my sit bones on my heels because I've got a little bit too much padding there. So if we just use the hands to spread the buttocks, and then you can feel the sit bones more into the floor. Lovely. Place the hands on the hips, just so that you can feel where the hips are. And we'll just find our neutral spine alignment. So if you press the hips all the way forward, you'll feel that the tailbone pushes down. If you press the hips all the way back, you create that kind of unnatural, excessive curve in the lower spine. So we'll just gently work forward and back. I still can't feel my sit bones on my heels, so I'm thinking lockdown's responsible for some of that extra padding. Then we'll stop midway until we can feel that the hips are level. So neither too far forward nor too far back. Then push into the shins and lift up. So ideally, when we push into the shins and lift up, we've managed to find our neutral spine position into the pelvis. So we don't have that sense of pushing the thighs forward or leaning the body weight forward. That's another big no-no. So we're in a nice straight line from the back of the head through to the heels. Then inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Press through the fingers. Then we'll widen the arms. And we're going to bring the fingertips in towards the palms, thumbs up towards the ceiling. So we're pushing the fingers away, opening through the sternum. Every out breath, drawing the tummy button in. Beautiful. Gets a little warm. Then inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Then bring the hands back towards heart. Lovely. So let's bring it that we're all sitting back on our bottoms. We'll repeat one of the postures that we did right at the beginning. We'll come to the Baddha Konasana pose. So I always say that Baddha Konasana is harder sitting than it is lying down, because the temptation in this posture is to kind of let your upper body hang over the knees. So try to start with that nice long line. Depending on the mobility of the knees, you might draw the heels closer or you might take them further away. So play with the action that's correct for you. Lightly hold on to the ankles or the feet, lift up out of the sit bones, then just follow the weight of the sternum as you ease the chest forward. Let gravity widen the knees a little more. And we're just focusing every out breath, just becoming a little heavier in the upper body. Just finding a little extra mobility in the inner thigh, in and around the hips. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in, lift yourself back again towards center. Bring the knees together. Deeply gorgeous. Hold on to the back of the thighs, roll yourself back. Keep hold of the back of the thighs and roll yourself up again. So we'll just do a few of these rolls through the spine, warming the spine, releasing any tension. Then rather than rolling yourself up again, choose a moment to roll back and then bring your feet to the floor once more. So decide whether your preference is to stay with the bent knee position or if you'd prefer to extend the legs. Notice if you need to pull some socks on or a fleece on if you think you might get a little chilly. Grab your blanket, hot water bottle, cup of cocoa. With the weather outside, it's all about just getting comfy and cosy. So take a few moments to again just notice how you hold your body. There's no judgment here, but notice if there's a part of your body that you tend to hold rather than release. Give yourself permission to let the full weight of your body sink a little more deeply towards the floor. Make any adjustments that you need to find a more comfortable position. Unclench the buttocks. Feel that weight through the flats of the shoulder blades. Let the back of the head release into the floor. And maybe nod the chin a little closer to the chest. Soften the fingers, soften the toes. Unclench the jaw. And relax the tongue in the well of the mouth. Relax the right eyebrow. Relax the left eyebrow. Then bring your awareness to the space between the eyebrows. Just allow your focus to rest here. Softening that space between the eyebrows. Widening here. Becoming heavier and more released here. Every inhalation and expansion. Every exhalation, a full release. Bring your awareness back to the breath. And again, just tame the pace of your breath. Slow the breath down. Deepening the inhale. Lengthening the exhale. If you're aware of any part of the body asking for a little extra attention, know that you can direct the breath to the parts of the body that need it most. Inhaling to nourish and energize. Exhaling to cleanse and relax. Maintain your awareness on the breath. As you gift yourself a rare few moments of quiet and calm. Simply rest here and breathe here. Coming to the end of each full breath. No rush. As you guide your body towards a deeper relaxation, invite the mind to quiet. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Now gradually bring yourself back into your body. Feel yourself settle once more into the weight of the earth beneath you, grounding you, reconnecting you with your space in this room. The energy from the earth rising through your body, recharging you, returning sensation to the body, wiggling fingers and toes, wriggling the jaw and the nose. If you wish, taking a long stretch through the body. If you prefer, hugging the knees to the chest. And taking your time to roll to whichever side feels most welcoming to you. Pausing there to blink the eyes open. Then returning once more to a comfortable seated position. Lots of sleepy faces. Now bring your hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honours the light in you. Namaste.